up, all my fight fans? We got ourselves UFC 300 this coming Saturday. I cannot wait from top to bottom. I already broke down the early prelims. I'm about to break down the actual prelims now. So, guys, let's talk about it because, again, UFC 300 is just stacked. So, go ahead, check out my early prelims breakdown on the previous video in the archives. Now, let's talk about the prelims. Let's talk about what we got in store. So, we got ourselves a fight in the featherweight division. Excuse me if I'm saying his name wrong. Please forgive me, but I believe it's Sadak Yusuf taking on Diego Lopez in the featherweight division. These guys are not, I want to say, your big superstar names in the featherweight division, but they are trying to make a big name for themselves. I believe Sadak, again, forgive me, Yusuf, his high-profile fight was against Edson Barbosa, which he ended up losing, unfortunately. Where Lopez, he's fought in a few good contenders in the division, and is on a little bit of a winning streak, but has not necessarily fought anybody in the top tier. So what these guys are doing is definitely trying their best to go after, of course, what the main goal is becoming a champion of the world one day, and trying to become number one contender. So they're trying to itch and claw their way through the division, and here they are facing each other. Now, as far as who's going to win, I feel like Diego Lopez has some momentum on the side, and I do feel like he has a little bit more victories on the side, which means he has a little bit more confidence on his side. Now, I've seen him fight a couple of times. Of course, he has tremendous skills, but a lot of fighters in the division do, so that goes without saying. But I feel just a quite bit more confident that Diego Lopez might go in there and edge this one out. Your guess is as good as mine, honestly, but I'm sure these guys will definitely do great in this opening card of the prelims. Now, as far as other fights go, you got yourself making her UFC debut. Well, I'm talking about Kayla Harrison taking on the one, the only, the former bantamweight champion of the world, women's bantamweight champion of the world, Holly Holm. This is going to be a very interesting fight, guys. We've been wanting to see Kayla Harrison in the UFC for a long time, especially when Amanda Nunes was champion. You know, Kayla Harrison comes from the PFL. She is one tough fighter. Seriously, if you haven't looked at her fights before, go ahead, check it out. She is definitely a champion, and she could potentially be a champion in the UFC. You definitely want to watch her as she makes her way into the UFC. But again, she's going against one tough fighter in herself, in Holly Holm. Of course, we all know Holly Holm has some up and down in her career ever since her victory over Ronda Rousey, but still, you never want to sleep on Holly Holm. Holly Holm has always had tremendous boxing. She has a boxing background. She's always had tremendous wrestling. She's always had tremendous kicks. She's had a full round package. Sometimes it has been a little bit harder for her to put it together, but with all that being said, I do feel like Holly Holm might be able to edge this one out, not because Kayla Harrison doesn't have what it takes, but because Kayla Harrison, when she fought, she usually fought at 155, a division that UFC has never had. They actually had a 145 division one time, but that division pretty much went when Amanda Nunes retired, the former champion of the world. And because they really don't have any featherweights women fighters in the UFC roster, there really was no point. So now we got Kayla Harrison doing her best to cut down that weight and fight at a weight that she's never fought at before, unless to my knowledge she hasn't. So normally on paper, I would definitely say Kayla Harrison has what it takes, but going against a former champion of the world in a division that she's never fought at and doing it probably for the first time of her career. So we do not know how Kayla Harrison is going to be or how she's going to react to that weight cutting. So really, on paper, I really feel like Holly Holm could definitely edge this one out. I would not be surprised if Kayla Harrison does, but look, I really do feel like Holly Holm might be able to edge this one out just due to the fact of that crazy weight cut that Kayla Harrison has to do. Also on the card, you got the former bantamweight king making his featherweight debut in Aljamain Sterling taking on Calvin Kattar. We all know Calvin Kattar. He is definitely one hell of a fighter. He is a beast of a fighter. He's been in there with some of the great tough fighters out there like Arnold Allen and Max Holloway. No, he has not yet fought for a title, but I'm sure this could potentially speak of possible title contention because Aljamain Sterling, being the former champion of the world, we all know he had that unfortunate loss to Sugar Sean O'Malley last year. So this is him making his debut. You know, I always felt like Aljamain Sterling was big for the bantamweight division, and now this is him being able to probably fight at his natural weight and possibly be able to fight more comfortable. Even though he became champion of the world and he never really looked like he struggled or even looked like he struggled with the weight cutting, but I'm sure he's going to walk around much more powerful, much more stronger, and much more comfortable going into this division. And definitely we all know when it comes to Aljamain Sterling, he has that nickname, the human backpack, where he just loves to get your back, you get some back control on you, possibly put in for a rear naked choke or doing any kind of submissions because, hey, let's remember who his trainers are. You got Ray Longo and you got Matt Serra, Matt Serra, former champion of the world. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting fight. But at the end of the day, Calvin Kattar has been in there with bigger guys. Calvin Kattar has been hit by bigger guys. Calvin Kattar has experience walking around with that weight, walking around as a featherweight, where this is pretty much Aljamain Sterling's first time fighting at this weight and walking around with this weight. Could be comfortable, but it also could tire him out. You never know. But I do feel like Aljamain could actually edge this one out due to his skills, due to his tremendous groundwork that he's able to do, and due to his size. I do feel like the weight cut is really not going to be much of an issue going into this fight. You got yourself on the card as well a light heavyweight contest in former champion of the world Yuri Prochazka taking on Alexander Rakic. Rakic being a really tough contender in the light heavyweight division. You definitely do not want to sleep on him. He's spotting a lot of great guys in the light heavyweight division, but Yuri Prochazka, he's just different. He's so different. He is so talented. He is one hell of a beast. Now, we all saw that fight with Alex Pereira where he got knocked out, but some people say maybe it was an early stoppage. Some people say maybe you could have given him a little bit more time. There's just a little bit that went into that. But at the end of the day, we all know Yuri Prochazka is really, really tough, really, really strong, really, really skilled. We saw him against Glover Teixeira. We saw him against Dominic Reyes. We saw him against all these other contenders out there in the light heavyweight division. And we all know that he has the skill to really become champion one day again. He was former champion of the world. Unfortunately, that all came to a downward spiral when he ended up getting hurt and he had to vacate the belt. And then, of course, he fought for the belt again against Alex Pereira back in November in MSG. Did not go his way. So he's going to work his way up the ladder. And I do personally feel like that Yuri Prochazka can actually edge this one out with his really crazy, unorthodox fighting style. That's just my personal opinion, guys. We'll definitely love to hear from you. Well, that's my prelim breakdown, guys. Wait until I get the main card breakdown. But until then, let me know who you think is going to win in these fights. Let me know who you got winning from top to bottom. Check out the early prelims. Check out the prelims. And wait until I get the main card going on. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video.